Uh, Thank you. Good evening, friends. We
Good
are
evening,
very
sir.
lucky that we have two encyclopedia on food safety, food industry. We have Mr. Amol Jagtap and Mr. Manish Virmani, and I'll be talking more on how we can generate more revenue, because in food industry, if I see a chartered accountant working across the country, there may not be more than 50. 50 is also a higher estimate. So I would request Rakesh to introduce the faculties and take the session ahead.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. I am CA Rakesh Saini from Alwar, Rajasthan, moderator of this VCM. We are delighted to welcome you all in the VCM being organized by CPE Committee of ICI. It is my pleasure to be a moderator for this session on VCM on role of chartered accountants in food industry, health awareness, food safety laws, and global opportunities. In a short while, we will start this VCM. I would like to apprise you about CPE Committee. The profession of chartered accountancy has always been recognized for the quality of education, training, and strong grip over technical standards. With globalization and increasing business complexities, it is essential that chartered accountants equip themselves with the changes occurring and stand out to the expectations of the society. Our institute is continuously working and contributing to cater to the need and requirement of our members and has taken various initiatives for them from time to time in the direction. With this view, the CPE Committee of ICI has always been foremost to provide opportunities to their members to boost their knowledge base. For today's topic on role of chartered accountants in food industry and health awareness, food safety laws and global opportunities, I call our keynote speaker for the today's session, Amol R. Jagtap sir. Amol R. Jagtap sir, he is a assistant director technical in Fsci. He is MTech in food technology. He has 10 years of experience in food regulatory. He has ecosystem presently working as central licensing authority for Maharashtra Zone 3rd. He received ICAR Research Fellow. He is recipient of Best Trainer Award continuously for 3 years. I welcome Amol R. Jagtap for his today's session. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Rakesh. Can I continue?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please, sir.
Hopefully, I'm audible. Very good afternoon to all. We are here to celebrate. This year, we are having the 5th World Food Safety Day. As we call, food safety is a shared responsibility. It starts from the farmers, then we go to the processors, consumers, researchers, facilitators, to regulator. Everyone is an integral part of the food safety ecosystem. So considering the prevalent pandemic situation, food safety has not remained a responsibility. We are experiencing at a personal level as well as as a regulator that food safety is not only a responsibility, but it has become a priority. There was a time, I guess some 25 years back, we all were stuck. We were talking about the food security only, and the food safety was moreover a luxury for us. But now, as a nation, we have come way forward, wherein we are pressing on the food safety with an equally competent, or we can say it as a globally benchmark legislation in the form of FSS Act. We are having some allied regulation, but always we are seeing we tried our level best to have a equally competent and globally benchmarked legislation. This year, in the year 2022, we have the Food Safety Day theme as a safer food and better health. They are talking about the safer food and better health. I would like to go beyond the theme, because safer food, we have safer food and better health. Then when we have a better health, ultimately we have the stronger people. Then stronger people, we will have the nobler society. The nobler society is a society in which everyone is willing to help each other. And the nobler society results into the superior nation. That's why I'm always thinking we should go beyond this. And here, as a CA, we need your help. We tried to convince the people that investigating or investing in food safety today will reap future benefits or future rewards. You will definitely, whenever you will invest in the food safety, you will get a reward. I would like to share one simple example regarding the food safety impact that I have recently experienced. मैं एक उदाहरण आपसे साझा करना चाहूँगा. I live in New Mumbai. Near APMC, I guess that Clock Square, we have a 150-year-old restaurant known for its taste and quality. Usually we used to visit the same. We used to visit a typical restaurant having its own fan base and average hygiene, typical vegetarian restaurant. Then last year what happened? क्या हुआ last year? इनके बाजू में एक रेस्टोरेंट खुला. तो ये नए वाले भाई साहब, किसी ने बोला नहीं चलेगा, दैट इज 50-year-old ब्रांड. इनके बाजू में एक रेस्टोरेंट खुला. ये नए वाले भाई साहब ने क्या किया, एकदम चकाचक हाइजीनिक सिस्टम करा कर दिया. स्वच्छता ऐसी जो आंखों से दिखे, with clean utilities and all, people, premises, product, everything was clean and well covered. So क्या हुआ? What happened? फूड सेफ्टी में की गई उसका टेस्ट, यू कैन से कि सपोज पुराने रेस्टोरेंट का टेस्ट यू कैन से 100, इसका टेस्ट इट वाज अराउंड 80-85. बट इसने जो फूड सेफ्टी में इन्वेस्ट की, फूड सेफ्टी में की गई इन्वेस्टमेंट बोलिए आप, मेहनत बोलिए, रंग लाई. धीरे धीरे पीपल स्टार्ट स्विच होने लगे. आज वो पुराना रेस्टो खाली खाली सा लगता है और नए रेस्टो में बैठने की जगह नहीं है. That is the practical impact of the food safety which I have observed in my area. So that's an impact of the food safety, because obviously safe food production improves economic opportunities by enabling the market access and productivity. In fact, it applies for the export market also. There are several examples. After improving their system, people were able to export in the global market. However, we have a few cases wherein unsafe or contaminated food led to the trade rejections, economic losses, food losses. Ultimately, it caused wastage to all, and it was it was a blot on the country, you can say. In an Indian regulatory regime, Fsci has been positioned in a unique scenario. As a regulator or as a government department, FSSI एक सेंस में यूनिक डिपार्टमेंट है. बिकॉज होता क्या है, वी आर एट अ यूनिक पोजिशन वेयर इन वी नीड टू टेक केयर ऑफ कंज्यूमर्स एज वेल एज वी नीड टू टेक केयर ऑफ द फूड बिजनेस ऑपरेटर. Right now we are nearing, I guess by the end of June, we will achieve the target of 1 crore food business operator. It means around हमारे 140 में से एक आदमी फूड बिजनेस ऑपरेटर है. हालांकि हम रजिस्टर्ड, वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट कि वी आर अबाउट टू रजिस्टर 1 crore फूड बिजनेस ऑपरेटर. The considering the unregistered or unorganized sector, we can say the one person in a 140 people is a food business operator. That's why we need to take a very balanced decision. On the one hand, we have consumers and their paramount public health. On the other hand, we have the food business operators and their regulation. We need to regulate them. And the third corner of the triangle is FSSAI, wherein we need to balance between the consumer interest and the industrial practices. और ये जो ट्रायंगल है, ये जो त्रिकोण है, ये इसकी भुजाएं है आप जैसी संस्थाएं, जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल आईसीए है, वेरियस लैबोरेटरीज है, रिसर्च स्टेशन है, ट्रेनिंग इंस्टीट्यूशन, ये इन भुजाओं को बल देती है. So this is the triangle of the food safety I usually refer. एक चीज हमने ऑब्जर्व की, देखिए हम लोग बोलते हैं कि आप एनुअल रिटर्न भरिए, फूड लाइसेंसी जो है उससे ही माल खरीदे. हम बोल बोल के थक जाते हैं, नोबडी इज लिसनिंग, कोई नहीं सुनता. लेकिन सीए साहब ने बोला तो इट इज पत्थर की लकीर. लोग जनरली सीए ने बोला ओके इट इज पत्थर की लकीर, वी विल फर्निश इट. ये होता है. सेम थिंग वी हैव एक्सपीरियंस. आई वुड लाइक टू शेयर एन एग्जांपल. यू माइट हैव हर्ड अबाउट द ईट राइट मूवमेंट ऑफ द इंडिया, in which we are telling people to have safe and healthy food. People were not listening. Then suddenly we got help from the doctors. लोगों में क्या है, they will not listen to Fsci, they will not listen to food regulator, but definitely they will listen to the doctor. तो हम लोगों ने डॉक्टर से अप्रोच किया. when doctor started prescribing, नो आप ये नहीं ये खाना, ये इन महाराष्ट्र में बोलते हैं तेल कट मत खाना, तुप कट मत खाओ, like don't eat oily, greasy and sour likewise. So it happened with us. The same experience now we are having since 2 years. Whenever, suppose say for example, any CA firm or lawyer firm, whenever they are intervening, whenever they are guiding the food business operator, we are getting the better compliances, we are getting the better documentation. That is the advantage we are having. Therefore, we need your help to guide the industry for implementing as well as understanding the importance of food safety. Because obviously आपके प्रोफेशन में कहा जाता है कि CA is the person who is awake when everyone is sleeping, like we are sleeping, then CA is awake. So food safety awareness is definitely on the rise through combined efforts. Regulatory bodies, Fsci is working, FDA, local health authorities, several institutes. We have ITC Pasan for training. We have National Institute of Nutrition at Hyderabad. We are working on the awareness side. So we are having a set plan in our mind that we will act on a demand side, so that we will create a demand. So obviously, it is expected that the supply side will act. That is our future project, you can say. The next 5 year we are going to adapt, or we are having a roadmap like that. Say for example, rather than rather than mandating the fortification regulation, we will go for the consumer awareness, so that whenever consumer is aware that I should get fortified foods, ultimately log banana shuru kar denge. That is our set strategy. Once again, we request you all, whenever you are handling accounting or auditing any food business, or whenever you are making any project report, please encourage the people to invest certain chunk of their budget in a food safety things. That's why I have given an example of that restaurant, because that is really going to reward them back. Say, for example, if you invest in the food safety, ultimately, rather than opting for a domestic market, you can go to the global market. So here, before I conclude on a personal front, I would like to urge on few things. As a friend, my dear friends, I know you all are in a position, you all are in a profession which is full of stress, and we are very much aware. Please take care of yourself and your family. After all, we all are food consumers. We all want a food to be safe. If you go for a random blood test, you just go for a random blood test, you will be surprised to find several nutritional deficiencies, of which you might have observed. We are deficient in vitamin D and vitamin B12, specifically men. Just now, we have received a report of 5th National Family Health Survey, wherein it was observed that 67% children are anemic and 57% women in the country are anemic. This is a historic number. Actually, we are also acting on this. Though it is an alarm, but it is an opportunity. It is truly an opportunity to act on a supply side. There is a demand in this area. We need to benchmark. You can guide people to come out into the business where they can bridge the nutritional gap. Say, for example, if a person starts a business wherein he is giving the nutritional premixes in which you are having the only one RDA nutrient. Say, for example, you are having the what do you call artificial sweeteners, you are having the soap packets. If a person will start, definitely I can say that empire will be 1,000 crore empire within 5 years, because that is a need of an hour. If someone will start those premixes in a sachet, definitely he is going to have 1,000 crore empires. That is a need which we have observed, which I found I must share. Second, I would like to share concept of safe food is immaterial without the healthy food alternatives. ऐसा नहीं है कि हमारा फूड सेफ है बोल के कितना भी खाना है. No, we need to control. This is my personal message to all my CA friends, or you can say any common citizens. The non-communicable diseases like we have CVD, we have the diabetes, we have the sudden stroke are gripping the society. And major culprit is a unhealthy food habits, lack of exercise. कहते हैं हम हमारे जीने का कारण ढूंढते हैं. हम हमेशा लाइफ में क्या करते हैं, कहते हैं हम हमारे जीने का कारण ढूंढते हैं और डॉक्टर हमारे मरने का कारण ढूंढते हैं कि हम लोग क्यों गए. वी कैन कॉल इट एज अ पोस्टमार्टम एंड ऑल. क्या होते हैं कारण? ये जो कारण है, आई डोंट वांट मेक पैनिक. मैं आपको डराना नहीं चाहता हूँ, लेकिन आई वुड लाइक टू शेयर एक पिछले साल का एक डेटा है. देखिए, दुनिया में लगभग हर साल 6 करोड़ मौतें होती है. 6 करोड़ लोग मरते हैं, दुनिया को छोड़ के चले जाती है. उन 6 करोड़ में से 4.5 करोड़ लोग, लगभग 75% पीपल, रीजन ऑफ देयर डेथ, मौत का कारण होता है एनसीडीज, दैट इज नॉन कम्युनिकेबल डिसीज. बात वो नहीं है. देखिए, उन 4.5 करोड़ में से 1.5 करोड़ लोगों की उम्र 70 साल से नीचे थी. इट वॉज बिटवीन 30 to 70 years. दैट वॉज द टेंशन. आई वुड लाइक टू शेयर वन इंटरेस्टिंग फैक्ट. यही मैंने बोला कि सपोज 6 करोड़ लोग जाते हैं, 4.5 करोड़ उसमें से दे आर लूजिंग देयर लाइफ बिकॉज ऑफ द एनसीडीज. 4.5 में से 1.5 करोड़ 70 साल के नीचे से होते. अल्कोहल का हमने सबसे खतरनाक माना है. ठीक है, अल्कोहल से कितने मौतें होती है, एक्सेस ऑफ अल्कोहल को? एनीवन कैन गेस? दुनिया में एक्सेस ऑफ अल्कोहल से लगभग 35 लाख लोगों की जान जाती है बिकॉज ऑफ द एक्सेस ऑफ अल्कोहल. और उससे ज्यादा यू विल बी सरप्राइज, excess of salt से last year we have reported a number of 45 lakh deaths. तो देखिए, शराब से ज्यादा लोग नमक की वजह से जान गंवाते. वी कैन कॉल इट एज बिकॉज ऑफ द एक्सेस सॉल्ट. हर समय हमेशा से एक पंक्तियां मैं बोलता हूँ. आई वुड लाइक टू रिपीट हियर आल्सो. मैं हमेशा बोलते आ रहा हूँ कि ए नमक कुछ तो शराफत सीख ले बोतल शराब से. ए नमक कुछ तो शराफत सीख ले बोतल शराब से कम खुद बोल देती है कि सेहत के लिए मैं हानिकारक हूँ. नमक नहीं बोलता है कि मैं सेहत के लिए हानिकारक हूँ. बोतल बोल देती है कि अल्कोहल इज इंजूरियस टू हेल्थ. वो मारता है 35 लोगों को, ये मारता है 45 लाख लोगों को. Another thing I would like to share, being from the CA fraternity, I guess all of you are having the per annum income more than that of 7 lakhs. That is, I guess, a national average of a CA. I don't want to go into that, but I would like to urge you all, please don't waste the food. हमारे यहाँ कहावत है, कहते हैं उतना ही ले लो थाली में, फेंकना ना पड़े नाली में. जब भी हम सोते हैं, यू जस्ट थिंक कि मेरे 1 किलोमीटर, हम लोग वो ऐप था ना, आई डोंट रिमेम्बर, द कोविड का ऐप था. हम लोग कोविड के केसेस वी वर एबल टू डिटेक्ट, आई गेस आरोग्य सेतु. ओके, उस तरीके से आप सोचिए कि हम जहाँ सो रहे, जहाँ पे खाना वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, हमारे 1 किलोमीटर पेरीफेरी में कितने लोग भूखे सोते हैं. you just have that thought, I would like to say कि उतना ही ले लो थाली में, फेंकना ना पड़े नाली में. Before I conclude, I would like to share one thing. We all have dinner on dining table, obviously. हम लोग जमीन पे कोई नहीं बैठते. मेरे आपसे एक बार विनती है कि समय निकालकर एक सिंपल सा टेस्ट कीजिए. कभी खाना खाने जमीन पर बैठ के देखिए. कभी खाना खाने जमीन पर देखिए. खाने के बाद अगर आपको हाथों की मदद लिए बिना खड़े नहीं हो पाए हो, यदि अगर आप हाथों की मदद लिए बिना खड़े नहीं हो पाए, समझ लेना इट इज एन अलार्म, इट इज अ टाइम टू एक्ट. आपको व्यायाम की, खाने पर कंट्रोल की सख्त जरूरत है. दिस इज अ वेरी सिंपल टेस्ट. खाना खाने नीचे बैठ जाए. इफ यू आर नॉट एबल टू स्टैंड, definitely you are unfit, you need to act. Once again, ma'am has given a message. Unfortunately, she is not today. Once again, on behalf of Fsci Regional Office Mumbai, we will like to thank you all. We would like to thank you ICA. We would like to thank you Dr. Saab and team for organizing such a beautiful Food Safety Day celebration. In fact, it was quite unexpected for us that the CA or ICA will organize the food safety. So I would like to say stay safe, stay healthy, and Jai Hind.
Thank you, Amol sir. Thank you for speaking on the platform of ICI. We are grateful for the time and effort you took to share your thoughts and experiences with ICI and its members. I personally thank you for sharing your experiences on food safety, health awarenesses, food safety laws, and opportunities for chartered accountants on the World Food Safety Day. I once again thank you, Amol sir. Amol sir, just give me a minute. I will take a question from participant side for you, so we can take that.
Sir, I couldn't get what you said. I couldn't get.
Amol sir, there is a question from Mr. Ajay from Virar. He is asking for resort opening, food license of mere hotel is required or hotel and restaurant both required?
Actually, suppose you are having the premises in which food is being served. There can be two things. So you need to take a hotel as well as a restaurant license. Okay, because it is you are staying as well as you are catering the food for people. In a typical language, we are calling it as a FSC, food service establishment. Okay.
Thank you, sir. So next question is from CA Vinod Kumar Gupta ji from Kanpur. Sir, he is asking, what is your control over roadside food shops where majority of average people take their daily food?
Really a good question. Actually, we were also worried about the food quality or street food side. In this scenario, we are acting on the two fronts. Like in central, we are designing the policy. We are devising the policy at the central level, and state governments, they are implementing the food legislation, particularly for the street food vendors. Another thing is we have come up with the another initiative. It is called as Clean Street Food Hub. So I would like to proudly say that in Mumbai, that is a typical clean street food app located at the Juhu Chowpatty, or we are having at a Kirgaon Chowpatty also clean street food app, in which since last 26 months we have not reported any foodborne illness cases. That is the one of the achievement by the Fsci. So we are acting on that front, though our efforts are short, but we are acting on that front. Okay.
Thank you, sir, and sir, congratulations for this wonderful achievement. So another question is from Mr. Ajay, and he is asking that the annual return is compulsory or it is optional, sir?
Yeah, for as far as manufacturers and importer is concerned, annual returns are now mandatory, and manufacturer covers also a repacker that sometimes people are missing. Okay.
Okay. So next question is from Ms. Tulasa Khandelwal. He is asking, while importing food or tea, what regulation would be applicable?
While importing food or tea, see, as far as tea is concerned, tea is not having any bar on the import. Suppose you just need to have a obtain an import license, and accordingly you can import. However, if you are importing a flavored tea like thing, then you need a certificate from the tea boards also. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, next question is from Mr. Prashant from Thane. He is asking, can you explain how salt is harmful to health so much as to cause so many deaths?
Okay, what is the problem with the salt? It is related to the hypertension, and it is related to the moreover in some cases it is related to the kidney filtration system. So excess of salt is affecting the majorly the mechanism of heart and kidney. So it is resulted into the hypertension. That's why we are calling it as a culprit of the cardiovascular diseases. That is the problem. So we are not saying ki you do not take any salt. It happened with our father Mahatma Gandhi also. He learned some paper that sodium is hazardous to health. Then he left the salt. You will find that article in Google also. Then suddenly someone told him that it may result into the electrolyte imbalance. Then again he continued with the salt. It is not the thing ki you should leave the salt, but it should be in a minor quantities. Okay.
Okay, sir. So next question is from Mr. Karan from Pune. He's asking, sir, is only for stay FSSAI license required?
Only for stay. If they are serving food in the room, they need to obtain FSSAI license. If they are not serving the food, then it is not required.
Thank you, sir. Next question is from Mr. Hirusa from Ahmedabad. Any solution regarding the issue in respect to not having a FSSAI lab in Ahmedabad airport?
As far as Ahmedabad is concerned, I guess it is in South Gujarat. Na? Gandhinagar is in North Gujarat, South Gujarat. We are having the 13 accredited laboratories in that South Gujarat zone. So that is not any issue. You can send it to any of the laboratories. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, all the questions are complete now.
Right.
Once again, thank you, sir, for such a wonderful thoughts and wonderful sharing for the today's session.
Right.
Now, I welcome our next speaker for the today's session, Mr. Manish Viramaniji. Mr. Manish Viramaniji is currently working with TUV India. He is manager accreditation and system certification. He has total work experience of 15 years with food manufacturing companies and certification bodies. By professional qualification, Mr. Manish Viramani is MSc. He has done MSc in food technology, BSc in microbiology, and he has also done diploma in packaging technologies and operation management. I welcome Mr. Manish Viramaniji for his session. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Rakeshji. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, sir.
So first of all, I would like to thank this entire initiative. I would like to thank Dr. Rajkumar sir for giving us an opportunity to be present in front of such an esteemed crowd where we will be discussing on different topics. And I'm indeed very happy to see Mr. Amol Jagtap here because the topic that I'm going to talk about would primarily be a lot to do with what Sir was talking about in terms of the FSSAI. So, what in my session I've tried to touch upon is what is food safety and what are the different initiatives that FSSAI has driven from their side to ensure that the entire compliances are met. In fact, a lot of the questions that we answered in the previous session would get touched upon somewhere here and there during my presentation. And at any point of time, if there is anything which Amol sir would like to add, I would be more than happy because he's actually working with FSSAI and his inputs would be really invaluable. So I'm just sharing my screen, and you can just confirm that you're able to see my screen, and I will open up the presentation. Is my screen visible now to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, so thank you once again. So I will quickly start with my session. So the presentation that I have is mainly going to talk about food safety and the regulations or norms in India. So before we all know what is generally food safety. But let us understand, going across from a lot of the questions that we were looking at, what is food safety? So basically, food safety is something wherein we are ensuring that the food that we eat is free from any microorganisms, it is free from any physical particles, it is free from any such thing which can either cause an illness or injury to our body. So this is what food safety is. Now, that obviously comes to a point that why is food safety important? I mean, is food safety really impacting us in any which ways? So we would look at some recent food safety issues that have been there in India. So there was one issue on the peanut traces. So peanut, if we all know, is just for information of everyone, there is a concept called as allergen when we talk about food. Something called as allergens. So though in India we are not, as a population, we are not so sensitive to allergens or allergenic contamination. When we talk about the European nations, there the sensitivity to allergen is very, very high. I mean, the allergen is, it is in our terms when we talk about allergy, it could be something ki we get a cough, it could be some skin rash, and we say हमको allergy हो गया. तो उसी तरह this concept of allergy is more predominant abroad, जहाँ पर the impact of allergies can even lead to fatality. मतलब लोगों की जाने गई हैं because of allergens, and that is the reason they are very, very sensitive when it comes to any allergy. So there was once a concern raised in one of the food additive. There were some traces. So peanut is an allergen, and the concern was with respect to presence of this peanut residues in some additive that was being used, and the product was basically from India. दूसरा situation ऐसा था. So there was this company. They had a kitchen. They had a central kitchen where the food was being prepared and given to the employees, and the employees over there got impacted by food poisoning. So this is within a manufacturing company. This is within a facility which has got nothing to do with food. So ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि we are all in some forum, or maybe we might be as CAs, we might be working in some place where we have a group of many other companies coming in, and we might have a small canteen or a central kitchen which is catering to that entire building. We might be eating food day in and day out over there, but are we aware and do we know that is that canteen or that kitchen taking care of all the necessary norms and is that ensuring that the food being prepared over there is safe. So for us, it is important to note that wherever we go to such locations, it could be a canteen, it could be a common kitchen in some establishment, we need to ensure that even that kitchen or canteen is having an FSSAI license. So when they have an FSSAI license, it means they are bound by the norms that have been defined by FSSAI to ensure that the product or the food that is being manufactured is safe. Very recently, there was a case where we had come across a person who had shared images of a dead lizard in one of the soft drinks bottle, which was served to him in a restaurant. I mean, these are absolutely unimaginable that we can even have such kind of things. And I think somewhere about a couple of months back, or as recent as last month, there was a issue of a food poisoning incident in Kerala, where a 16-year-old girl died after consuming shawarma, which was a Arabic dish. I mean, that was again. So what is the essence of all these things is somewhere something is not in place, due to which the safety is being compromised, and that is eventually impacting the people who are the end consumers of that particular food. Now, if we think that this is only a situation in India, no, this is a problem which is global. So like Amol Sahab was talking about nutrition, Amol Sahab was talking about the food safety. See, the concept of food safety, nutrition are all very, very well developed in the European nations, where I can really give you one incident from one of my experiences when I was working in a company and we were similarly making some product from peanuts, and we were exporting that product to Australia, and our consumers from Australia had come down for a audit. And while they were looking at the plant and they were going through our plant, they asked, "Where are the peanuts that you use? I mean, where have you stored it?" So we showed them the bags in which the peanuts were kept. They looked at that and their answer was, "Oh, this is the peanut that we feed our animals." We were zapped. I mean, just imagine the quality of peanuts that we eat is being equated to the quality of peanuts which animals eat in European nations. So when they can be, and they had so many testing requirements even for that quality of peanuts. So if they are so particular about their health, their nutrition, their safety, when it comes to animals, why is it not such an important aspect for us individually as human beings? So if we look at it, on an average, 1 in 10 people around the world fall ill after eating contaminated food. Imagine 1 in 10 across the globe. There are children who are under the age of 5 years who are infected by food, and foodborne illnesses impact not only the individual, but it has a cascading effect. Now, suppose we go to some country, and some resort in that country leads to, you get unhygienic or unsafe food over there. You will start doubting the practices followed within the country, and that can have a impact on tourism. It can have an impact on trade. We have the material that we export, we take complete precaution and complete care to ensure that it is of the best quality. But at the same time, when we are importing, there are some second grade countries who do not follow all the norms, but we import it from them. And what are we doing? We are risking the entire population of people who are going to consume that product. So that's why I was saying that food safety or the issues with respect to food safety are not a localized phenomenon in India, but it has a global impact. It is a global scenario. So then what should I do? What are the thoughts that come to my mind as a consumer? Is my food safe? Is my food healthy? Is my food nutritious? And how is all this being regulated? So first of all, my food needs to be safe, it needs to be healthy, it needs to be nutritious. And if it is to be all this, how is all this business regulated? So that I go into that tangent of thinking, how is all the food business regulated? And that is where we have the food safety management systems. When I say food safety, any management system basically means you have systems in place to ensure that the processes are happening in line with what has been planned. Similarly happens with food safety management system. So when we talk about a food safety management system, it means all the steps and all the protocols that need to be followed to ensure that the food that is being manufactured eventually is safe. Food regulations, and that's where our most special and our most unique and our most our FSSAI, the team of the most diligent individuals comes in handy. They are responsible for looking at the food safety across the length and breadth of India. When I was giving you an example a couple of minutes back about the importing norms, they are the ones who need to who work day in and day out to see to it that the quality of food being manufactured in India and being exported out, the quality of food or raw materials that is being imported to India from outside, everything is being regulated. Everybody follows the same norms. An importer in Kerala versus an importer in Kashmir, both of them follow the same norms, and it is this responsibility of FSSAI to ensure that all these norms are defined, they are followed, and thereby food safety is ensured. Food testing, this is another very important requirement where we are expected, where any food manufacturer is supposed to ensure that the food that they manufacture is also being tested. Even FSSAI have their own norms with respect to testing requirements. So when the entire the like sir was talking about the trikon, Amolji was talking about the trikon. So this trikon I call the three arms of the trikon. One is the food safety management systems, one is the food testing, and one is the food regulations. So when we have all the three sides of a trikon covered, the entire product inside, that is the food, remains safe. Okay. So this is how our Food Safety and Standards Authority of India has a website, has a portal through which they manage everything. And this is where all the updates, all the amendments, all the rules, all the regulations, all the advisories, all the notifications are published by FSSAI, so that it is ensured wherever, I mean, whichever corner of India, as I said, if I'm an importer in Kanyakumari and if I'm an importer in Kashmir and I don't know the norms, I just need to go to this FSSAI portal. And when I look at the rules and requirements, I come to know what are the norms. Because the norms are constant across the length and breadth of India, irrespective of which place, which state I belong to. I won't take much of time into this slide. This is basically a history of the food regulation. So FSSAI came into effect in 2006. Prior to that, there were many different laws. It was called as a prevention of food adulteration. So there was a separate law for vegetable products. There was a separate law for fruit products. There was a separate law for oils. There was a separate law for milk products. Everything was separate. So whenever anybody would want to look at something, they would look at their respective laws. So what FSSAI has done, they have consolidated all these laws together into the FSS Act, and it is now a common platform irrespective of my industry, wherein I need to refer to, look at the regulations and go ahead with it. So this is what FSSAI is based. So we have the chairperson, who's Sri Rajesh Bhushan. Sri Arun Singhal is the chief executive officer. And then under them, they have the team of authorized officers, commissioners, and the designated officers who are located across the various states and union territories in India. And they are the ones who are responsible for. So FSSAI is controlling from the center in Delhi. and you have people distributed across the length and breadth within every state to monitor all these activities are happening in line with what is the eventual objective of FSSAI. So what does FSSAI do? So FSSAI are responsible for framing the regulations and laying down the requirements for food safety. They are responsible for granting the licenses for any food business. They lay down the procedures for what are the testing protocols, what are the parameters to be tested, what are the specifications that need to be there. They are responsible for framing policies in line. I mean, whenever they come across any, for example, in between there was a big worry about something called as melamine, which was found to be contaminating dairy products. This alert happened in some other part of the world, but as soon as FSSAI got a whiff of it, they immediately started releasing notifications. So being proactive to ensure that this happens. Similarly, they need to work across the various countries and have an understanding and a forum. So while importing regulations are there, they also need to, if we are exporting to some country, FSSAI cannot create a specification in isolation. They need to take into account what are the exporting country norms. In line with that, they need to look at the necessary actions that need to be done from our end, from the FSSAI ends. And more or less, they need to, of course, I mean, create a general awareness of about what is food safety and food standards. Like Amolji was talking, that it is, they are disseminating knowledge, they are disseminating information. It is now for us to start accepting this knowledge and start acting on it. So what FSSAI does is FSSAI has a lot of different divisions now. When I was talking, they have to frame policies, they have to frame specifications, they have to define limits for these specifications, they have to coordinate with various countries, they have to inform people, there has to be knowledge dissemination. It's not a one-man activity or a one-team activity. So they have dedicated teams through which they function and they ensure that all these activities are getting executed. So they have a science and standards division, which is responsible for studying the specifications, formulating new specifications. They have a regulatory division, which is responsible for releasing the regulatory compliances, releasing the whatever are the standards. They have a quality assurance division. So they have various divisions which ensures that the entire food product, apart from the one that is not only being manufactured, but whatever is being sold, exported, whatever is being imported, whatever is being prepared, everything is controlled and everything is within the framework of the FSSAI rules and requirements. So there are two specific concepts that we talk about over here. So there is something called as a registration, there is something called as a state license, and there is something called as a central license. Now, what is registration? So registration, there are many norms. I mean, I wouldn't go too much into the technicalities, but to give you an overview for you to understand what is the difference between a registration, a state license, and a central license. So registration is something where any and every food business operator, when I say food business operator, the small time vendors, the small time, like one of the questions in the previous session, I think one of the gentlemen asked, how does FSSAI control the roadside vendors? So this is how FSSAI controls the roadside vendors. It is a mandatory requirement that each and every roadside vendor is at least registered. So tomorrow, if we go to the roadside and have a vada pav, or we have a sev puri or a chaat, we need to check whether that particular person, that particular vendor is registered. If he's not registered, he is not eligible to do business in that area. And when we say that he's registered, it means he is taking all the requirements that are being mandated by FSSAI to ensure that the end product is safe. They are taking all the necessary precautions and protocols. So any roadside vendor, anybody who is like a roadside dhaba, like the chart available on the roadside, these are the people who need to have a minimum of registration. So registration is the smallest activity. The person with the smallest business goes in for registration. Then we have something called as a state license. So state license is more under the purview of the state government, wherein the state license is issued. A central license is where the license is issued at the central level. It depends upon the scope of the business. So the difference between state license and central license depends upon the turnovers, the kind of business you are in, and also the size of the business that you are in. Okay. So this is the basic difference between a state license and a central license. I have a subsequent slide where I would just touch upon who fall into the purview of a central license and who fall into the purview of a registration. As on 31st October 2021, the data that I could review, there are a total of 51,236 registered central license holders. There are 8,75,000 state license holders and close to 40 lakh registered establishments under Fssci. So these numbers are obviously going to increase, while it is obviously Fssci which controls all this. But as a consumer, as a product user, it is also our responsibility to check that tomorrow, when I go to have any chart, when I go to have anything by the roadside, to check whether that vendor is at least registered. If that vendor is not registered, number one, I would call that business as illegal because he's not registered. And number two, nobody can take a responsibility for your safety after you consume that product. You might say, "Arey, मैं 25 साल से इसके पास चाट खा रहा हूँ, या मैं 50 साल से इसके पास वड़ा पाव खा रहा हूँ, मुझे आज तक कुछ नहीं हुआ." It's not necessary कि जो आज तक नहीं हुआ वो आगे भी नहीं होगा. So it is possible he might have used some stale vegetables, chutney stale हो गई होगी. We end up, I personally have experienced this, having been in this industry. So many times I've experienced that I would go and buy samosa and come at home, and when I'm about to open it, the samosa would be fine, probably the chutney would be sour, basi ho gayi hogi chutney. But whom do you approach at this case? If you go back and tell that person, he would say कि नहीं, मेरे पास तो बराबर है, मेरे पास तो fresh है. So is there, so how it is our responsibility as well that whenever we come across any such situations, we have to inform the person, the vendor, and if he's not ready to listen, we can always approach Fssci and bring it to their notice that such and such stall is functioning here, which is not registered with Fssci. A very simple procedure, I think one of the most simplest way of application, one of the most user-friendly portal Fssci has. Yes, when the portal was introduced, there were a lot of teething problems and there were a lot of challenges. There were a lot of issues that were going on. There were a lot of issues that were going on due to which there were delays and all. However, with the new portal that has come in, I think it's a very user-friendly portal. It's a very helpful portal, and it's very easy to apply for any business and get the license issued. So this is what is a typical protocol that the license, and I'm not sure about the timelines. Amolji may correct me if I'm wrong, that typically within 2 months of applying for the license, and once all the activity within 2 months, Fssci ensures that all the licensing procedures from their end are also reviewed and completed, and that person is able to start a business within 2 months. That's what I'm, maybe towards the end of the session, Amolji can clarify that if I'm going wrong somewhere. In fact, that's also a part of the slide, that is the 60-day requirement. This is how a typical license or Fssci registration looks like. So it has the number 1 or 2 denotes whether it is a registration or a license. It is followed by the state code, followed by the year when the license was obtained, the office under which the license was obtained, and the serial number. So this is all managed and completely, very beautifully coordinated and handled and managed by Fssci as a team. So the portal automatically generates the numbers once the necessary documents, the fees have been submitted. They have been scrutinized. After scrutiny, queries are raised. If the queries are closed satisfactorily, and once Fssci approves, the license is generated. This is what I was talking about. What are the businesses which typically fall under a central license? So I'm not going once again, I'm not going too much into the technicalities, but typically large size units like huge dairy handling units, which use 50,000 liters of milk a day, oil processing units, slaughterhouses, which have a capacity of 50 to 100 or even 1,000 poultry birds, meat processing units, relabelers and repackers, 100% export oriented units, importers, food business operator having operations in more than 2 states, catering establishments in the airport, in the seaport, with defense. These are all the people who need to apply under a central license. Again, there is a guidance given by Fsci with respect to which category we fit into, which category we fall into, based on which the license, based on which we apply for the license, or we are able to get the license. This is for the registration, which is for all the hawkers. So if you look at the business, they are the temporary stall hawkers, they are the mobile food vendors, they are the home-based canteens or dabawalas, the local chai tea shops, the local manufacturers, any repacker, those who are, who have food stalls in religious establishments and in gatherings, the dhaba, the roadside dhaba that we have, the small time milk producers who might not be associated with a big group like the Amul group. So such kind of people fall into so those who have a small scope of business and who are, there is also a turnover associated to it, I think, who do not have a turnover of more than 12 lakhs per annum. Such people fall into the category of registration. So everybody who has a license or everybody who is having a registration with Fsci, registration is okay. Registration need not follow all these conditions except for the basic hygienic practices. But those who have the license need to ensure that all these conditions are monitored and maintained at every point of time. So which means displaying the license in their premises. They give access to the Fsci team members whenever they come in for a visit or an inspection. They need to have a technical person to ensure and oversee the entire operations. The annual returns, this is a mandatory requirement that the annual returns have to be filed for every year within the 31st of May. They have to ensure that the entire hygienic practices within the food manufacturing establishment are kept up to the date. They are well maintained, they are clean, there is no possible contamination. Everything is being maintained in a hygienic and clean way. Just like the example, again I go back to the example Amulji gave about a 50-year-old restaurant versus a restaurant which just came up. They followed all the hygienic principles, they ensured all the equipments were clean, they ensured all the people were wearing the necessary personal protective equipments, and that showed in the business. Ensuring that there is a mandatory requirement within Fsci that we need to get our products water tested at frequency of every 6 months. So the final product that we manufacture, the water that is being used for processing, whether these are potable and they do not contribute in any way to the food getting contaminated. So these are the things which are also very important for any food business operator to monitor and to ensure that the conditions of the license are met. These are some of the fines that are levied by Fsci for various non-compliances. So if there is a delay in filing the annual returns, there is a fine of 100 rupees per day. This is more of for a systemic requirement. But if you look at the fines for the other offenses, so food not being of quality, substandard food, misbranded food. I mean, I can give you a very good example of a misbranded food, at least 2 or 3 examples. I was once in some place in some state inside Maharashtra where I had gone for some official commitment, and I had just picked up a bottle of water. So it was a bottle which had a green cap and a green label. Obviously, when I say green cap and green label, our mind goes to Bisleri. And I knew it was Bisleri because Bisleri was written on the label also. So I purchased that bottle, I sat in the car and I was going ahead. slowly, when I opened up the bottle just prior to drinking, I saw that everything was same. Just like a Bisleri label, everything was same. The only difference was the spelling of Bisleri was Bisleri. They had just interchanged the LERI of the Bisleri to LIRE. And that was it. The font, everything was same. This is an example of misbranded food. Similarly, Parle-G. I had purchased a Parle-G biscuit packet. Everything same. The packing absolutely same. What was different? The PARLE was replaced as PAREL. That was the only difference. But at first look, we do not come to know because we go by the image. Bisleri, Parle-G, these are images जो हमारे में दिमाग में बैठ गए कि मैं देखूंगा कितना बार होता है. आज भी हम लोग पानी लेने जाते हैं तो हम मिनरल वाटर नहीं पीते, हम बोला भाई बिस्लरी देना, भरे फिर वो बिस्लरी दे या एक्वाफिना दे या किनले दे या हिमालयन दे, कोई भी दे, हम बोलते हैं भैया बिस्लरी देना. सो वो इमेज हमारे दिमाग में इस तरह से छप चुका है कि इट इज इजी फॉर पीपल टू मैनिपुलेट. Such kind of food become misbranded food. Even misleading advertisement. When I say I might manufacture something, bolunga this is the best quality of product. I would say this has the highest vitamin, this has the highest protein. As long as I am ensuring, as long as I am justifying that what I'm claiming is correct, I can claim. However, I cannot claim the best quality or I cannot claim anything which is superficial. I have to claim something that can be quantifiable. I cannot say this is natural, जबकि उसमें natural कुछ भी नहीं होगा. Even up there might be, आप लोग जब भी fruit juices लेते हो, बहुत ये local level पे मैं देखता हूँ जो बोलेंगे ये fruit pulp है from 100% fruit, और जब मैं label पे देखूंगा उसमें hardly कुछ 5 या 10% fruit pulp होगा, बाकी सब पानी होगा और fruit essence होगा और colors होगा. So these are misleading things, misbranded things. So we might be thinking, यार ये सब चीजें मैं क्या करूं? ये सब चीजें, whenever we come to know across such things, whenever we come across such things, we at our responsibility should bring about these information to Fsci. Now, how do we bring about? Yes, I have a slide further which will also tell me how do we bring about this. So these are some of the penalties that is levied by Fsci on the various non-compliances. Yeah, so these are the different platforms which Fsci has, through which it ensures that all the controls are there. So food safety compliance system is the basic platform through which they ensure that all the food manufacturers are following the necessary norms. फूड इंपोर्ट क्लियरेंस सिस्टम, मैं बहुत बार बोल रहा था मैं कन्याकुमारी में इंपोर्ट करूं या कश्मीर में इंपोर्ट करूं, मुझे कैसे कंट्रोल होगा. सो एफएसएसआई ने वो भी प्रॉब्लम को एड्रेस किया हुआ है थ्रू फूड इंपोर्ट क्लियरेंस सिस्टम. उन्होंने इंश्योर किया कि जो तुम फूड जो की नॉर्म्स होनी चाहिए वो क्या होनी चाहिए. अमोल जी ने कहा ईट राइट इंडिया. ईट राइट इंडिया इज टू इम्प्रूव द एंटायर पब्लिक हेल्थ एंड जो भी नेगेटिव न्यूट्रिशनल साइड में हम जा रहे हैं, जहां पे सॉल्ट ज्यादा हो रहा है, फैट ज्यादा हो रहा है, कोलेस्ट्रॉल ज्यादा हो रहा है, उन सब चीजों को कैसे करेक्ट करना चाहिए. दिस इज व्हाट ईट राइट इंडिया इज ऑल अबाउट. दे हैव अ इंडियन फूड लेबोरेटरीज नेटवर्क, इन्फोलनेट. यहाँ पे इट इज एन एंटायर नेटवर्क ऑफ द फूड लेबोरेटरीज. Everything that any food laboratory does is mapped in this, and FSSAI has visibility to all of this. Food Safety Connect. This is where we can connect with FSSAI to address our concerns, our complaints, our grievances. तो जैसे मैं previous slide में कह रहा था, अगर मैंने देखा कोई misbranded product है, अगर मैंने देखा कि कोई complaint है, अगर मैंने देखा कोई चीज सही नहीं है, तो मैं FSSAI को connect कर सकता हूँ through Food Safety Connect और उनको बता सकता हूँ कि सर इस चीज में यहाँ पर ये गलत हो रहा है, प्लीज इसको एड्रेस करो. And this is a personal experience again. I had raised a couple of concerns or a couple of complaints on Food Safety Connect. Within 1 month, both of them were addressed. So it is not that they have just created the platforms. They are ensuring that they are working on it. They are ensuring that it is all alive and being addressed. Serve safe food. Whatever, जहां पर भी हम बाहर hotels में खाने जाते हैं, the safety and healthiness of that food is managed through serve safe food. save food, share food. Again, I mean, malnutrition, undernutrition, there is a loss, I mean, unavailability of food. All these things are controlled by save food and share food. This is a network of food professionals, the NetProfan, where the people who are professionals from the industry, from the field of food safety, from the field of nutrition, they come together, they brainstorm, they think, they talk, they discuss, and they bring about various norms. I mean, they are part of this entire platform of food of Fssci. Training. Fssci is equally throwing a lot of thrust on training for food safety, training for nutrition, जिसके लिए उन लोग ने ITC Fsci करके एक पोर्टल बनाया हुआ है. And then FOSTAC, which is food safety training and certification. So while all of this is from the implementation side, Fssci has also defined a requirement कि जो भी manufacturers हैं, they need to get audited, they need to be inspected, they need to be evaluated to check whether they are following all these norms. And that is one of the conditions in the license. कि उनको, there is a schedule 4, which is a hygiene schedule, whether the manufacturers or the suppliers are following to all those requirements. So these are some of the mandates that Fssci has, the rules and the specifications that they have with respect to. There is a legislation license for license and registration. So under what conditions a license is issued, under what conditions registration is done, food safety prohibition and restriction, what is prohibited, what is not permitted to be sold, packaging and labeling. Every product that we see in the shelf today, every product that we see in the market has a lot of mandatory information with respect to what is the उसमें ingredients क्या है, उसका nutritional safety क्या है, उसका label कैसा है, from information. So they define that contaminants, toxins and residues. What are the limits? When I was saying कि कौन सा product maximum कितना limit में हो सकता है for the labs to evaluate. Similarly, standards for the product safety. So अगर मेरा कोई product है, कोई raw material है, उसमें क्या specifications होने चाहिए, all that is defined by Fssci. Food recall, if there is a complaint, तो recall कैसे होना चाहिए, labeling and display norms कैसे होने चाहिए, import के norms कैसे होने चाहिए, advertising and claims, what am I supposed to advertise, and then food safety auditing. So this is where the 11 divisions function independently and they work through all these departments. Fssci works and ensures that the entire gamut of food safety is being addressed. Quickly coming to the concept of food safety, Fssci is the regulatory enforcer. They ensure that the regulatory requirements, it is like when I'm driving a car, मेरे पास license होना चाहिए. Without a license, I cannot drive a car. उसी तरह, and when I have a license की जो भी requirements है, मुझे वो भी fulfill करने हैं. उसी तरह Fssci ने mandate किया है कि these are my license requirements and all of you who have a license or a registration follow all the norms. Now, additionally, how do I work towards food safety? While one part is the regulatory requirements, the other part, as I told you, is the food safety implementation. So when I talk about food safety implementation, where these are the different standards: HACCP, ISO 22000, Fssci, FAMI-QS, BRCGS. These are all different food safety management systems. Means they take the requirements from Fssci as one part and they put management system requirements to it. So there are, how do you map the entire process? How do you ensure that the entire process is controlled, how the procedures are controlled, and eventually how the product that is being manufactured is safe, not only in tandem with the Fssci requirement, but also from a food safety perspective with respect to the food safety management systems. So when we follow food safety practices and the regulatory compliances, you have happy customers, and when you have happy customers, it means happy business. So with this, I mean, I'm just some quick this about what TUV does, but that's about it from my side. So wherein I try to touch upon what are the what is the commonality between Fsci and the food safety management systems. And with that, I would like to once again thank the entire forum for listening to me patiently, for hearing me out, for going through this session. And yes, I mean, over to Rakesh ji for taking it further.
Thank you, Manishi. Thank you. Thanks so much for such a great session. I just want to let you know how much I appreciated your structured approach to such a wide topic with some fantastic takeaways, which I can put into practice. Maniji, you have touched all the points from beginning to end, from food safety to compliances, opportunities for chartered accountants. So many things you have touched upon. Thank you, Maniji. I just go through my chat box to cover up the question of participants. Give me a minute.
Sure, sir.
Sir, there is a question from Mr. Rakesh from New Delhi. How TP control chemically ripened fruits are being openly sold in the market?
Yeah, so I think it is more to do with the natural and the artificial ripening. So a lot of unethical ways of ripening is being done. Again, this is, I mean, Amolji can support me in this. I think even those who are, this is where the vendors are. So the vendors, if they are doing even this activity, they need to at least have a registration. And Fssci has surprise inspections and surprise checks on all these vendors to ensure that the products are controlled and such false products are not out in the market.
Amol sir, can you please explain?
Add to it, add further.
I'm unable to understand the question. What was that?
I think what they are referring to is how is the chemically ripened fruits market regulated? I mean,
actually, what we are seeing that chemical ripening agent, they are falling under the category of the food processing aids. We are not calling it as a food additive or something, but it is being regulated by the Fssci presently. We are having the regular surveillance on that.
Exactly.
We have banned some artificial ripening agents also.
That's exactly what I told him. Correct, sir. Thank you. Yeah.
So next question is from Mr. Arpit Bahadur from Mumbai. For getting renewal center license, which of following is required? Annual food safety audit / FSMS certificate or some other document?
Okay, for renewal of license, I mean, there are a lot of mandatory documents which when you apply for any license, it is there in the portal. It is basically your establishment details, your inspection details, the mandatory water test report. So there are a bunch of documents which are already there. Additionally, whenever you are, I mean, having the FSMS certificate is supporting you to ensure that yes, you have practices and processes in place to ensure that food safety activities are being monitored. Sorry.
Thank you, sir. So next question is from Mr. Anish Kodla from Pune. He wanted to know what documentation, compliances and policies shall be adopted by any entity, also who are required to get the licenses.
Yeah, I mean, just in continuation of my previous question, a lot of these license documents that are mandatory are already included in the when you are applying for a license. So it basically is your main certificate, your license document, your factory license, your license to operate, your lab test reports, And then defining internal policies and procedures with respect to the hygiene policy, the food safety policy, and what are your internal protocols with respect to the food manufacturing.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So next question from Ms. Gayatri R from Bangalore. Food quality on food on wheels. Any regulation for the same?
Certainly. I mean, when we are talking about food quality for anybody who is having a license needs to comply with all the requirements. So if my food on wheels is being sold, I also need to apply for a license, and whatever requirements within the license are there need to be followed by me as well.
So next question is from Tulsa Khandelwal from Delhi. Sir, how is marketed by and manufactured by Fsci license work as seen in most of the branded food product?
Okay, so many a times what happens is I may just be a marketer and I might be getting my product manufactured from 5 different manufacturers. So it is mandatory in the Fsci label that first of all, even if my role is that of a marketer, I need to have an Fsci license for marketing, and manufacturer obviously for the manufacturing. So when I am marketing any product which is being manufactured, so I need to have both my marketing license number as well as the manufacturing license number included into the labels.
Thank you, sir. So next question is from Mr. Nikhil Agrawal from Delhi. Sir, I wanted to know, does the restaurant having Fsci license give 100% surety the food is safe to take?
So it is an expectation that anybody who has an Fsci license will comply 100% to all the requirements and thereby ensure that the product is 100% safe. If there is any such instance where the safety is compromised, we always have the mechanism of complaining back to Fsci. So if I am having a license, it is my responsibility and duty to ensure that the entire requirements are being adhered to. And when I stick to the norms that are being defined, then automatically the product that I manufacture will be safe.
Thank you, sir. So next question is from Mr. Raja Sekhar Shetty R from Bangalore. Is idealized salt is chemical or salt with some chemical mixed?
No. So basically, salt undergoes a purification process, and after that purification process, it is iodized. So iodized salt is what we normally consume, and that has a limit, that has a level of iodine which is present in it, and that iodized percentage is important for us to prevent us from any food safety. I mean, not food safety, any nutritional disorders like goiter.
Thank you, sir. Sir, next question is from Mr. Ajay from Pune. What Fsci policies to regulate street food vendors with tea stall, vada pav vendor, etc.?
So that is basically the registration. So they are all covered under the registration norms, and they need to have a registration to operate.
Sir, is Fsci license required for these vendors?
The registration is required. Fsci registration is required.
License not required?
No. It is the registration that is required until they do not come to the turnover of 12 lakhs per annum.
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir. So next question from Anish Kondla from Pune. What is covered in food? Medicine and drug also?
No. Anything that does not have a health benefit or anything that does not have a medical benefit, like medicines and drugs, are not covered in food. But everything else that we consume for taste, for nutrition, for anything which is having the satiety benefit is covered under food.
Thank you, sir. Sir, there is one question from my side also.
Yes.
Are different licenses are required to conduct different kind of food business activities at the same premises?
Different licenses for the same premise.
Actually, I am doing a different type of food businesses at the in the same premises. Do I need separate food licenses for all the businesses?
Amolji, I would request your support in this. As much as I think when you talk, the licenses are only of three types: either a central or a state or a registration. So if you are doing multiple businesses, I think a central license applies. But I would request Amolji to second that.
You mean to say you are operating in a same area with multiple kind of businesses?
Yes, sir. I am operating in the same building, but with different food businesses.
Yes, actually, there was a provision. In fact, it is a provision in the Act itself. So presently, we are not having that facility in our software. It is there. Suppose you are operating in a same local area, you can operate on a single license. Generally, we are not encouraging the multiple licenses. Okay. But
So
I guess
a single license will be applicable in that case.
Yes.
Sir, one more question is there. If I have closed my food business, then I should I need to surrender my food license or not, sir?
I think yes.
Yes, and they need to submit annual return. They need to ensure whether I have filed all the annual returns so that there will not be any due from the government side. Then only their surrender will be accepted. That is the prerequisite.
Thank you, sir. This is from my side. Just a second, sir. We have some more question from chat box. This question is from Mr. Rakesh from New Delhi. He is asking why these rules and regulations framed under Fsci are not being implemented vigorously throughout India. The chemically ripened fruits are being sold in the open market without any fear.
Okay.
He is asking, sir.
Rakeshji, first of all, as we said, India, with respect to the geographical diversity within India and the size and nature that is there in India, it is not possible currently that each and every outlet is being monitored. But all said and done, if you go back to my presentation, there were some close to 40 lakh registrations which have already been issued. So it is not that Fsci is not working on that. Fsci is very strictly enforcing these norms. However, yes, there is always a scope for improvement, and that gradually happens. But all said and done, at the same time, it is also a responsibility of every person who is doing the business to ensure that they are complying to whatever norms have been defined. So I should not, on an ethical level, I am not supposed to be dealing with chemically ripened fruits when I know that they are not permitted.
Thank you, sir. So next question is from Mr. Khalid Rahman from Okla. It is mandatory to take registration under Fsci in case of every small kirana store, grocery shop.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Next question is from Mr. Mahendra Doshi from Mumbai. Sir, in Mumbai, lakhs of vendors selling food on roadside.
Yeah. So if you see that,
how to ensure that roadside vendor is registered seller? Is there any mechanism to check it?
So they have to display their registration certificate or the license in their stall. If they do not do it, we can ask them, and if they do not have it, we can complain their business.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, there is one more question from my side. Sir, if a manufacturing concern having a canteen facility in its premises, should that manufacturing entity is also required to have a Fsci license, sir?
Manufacturing, if the company is manufacturing some product and the canteen is being run within that same facility, yes, the canteen needs to have an FSSAI license.
Is it mandatory, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Sir, next question is from Mr. Abhijit Deep Saxena from Lucknow. Does liquor vendor stores need to get FSSAI license? Do FSSAI governs the process of storing and distributing the alcohol beverages and non-alcohol beverages?
Amulji, I am not very sure on this. Is it possible for you to just throw some light on it? As much as I know, non-alcoholic beverages are covered under the scope of FSSAI. Not sure about alcoholic beverages.
Actually, FSSAI is governing both alcoholic as well as non-alcoholic beverages. These are duly covered under the definition of the food. That's why we are covering entire chain, right, from manufacturing to the retail.
Okay.
Thank you, Amul sir. Sir, next question is from CA Khushbu from Jean. My question is, there are many examples of misbranding in the market despite regulation and penalty. Why is it so?
Yeah, so number one, it is easier for any such people to sell their product because as I gave you my example, I looked at Green and Bisleri. So number one, it is again on a personal value, personal ethical grounds that people are messing up. Why is it so? Yes, because the length and breadth that India covers it's very difficult for FSSAI to get into nook and corner of everything. But eventually it will happen. But that's where we as consumers are also very important because we play a very important role in informing FSSAI that these gaps exist and that these gaps need to be closed.
Right, sir. Sir, next question is from Mr. Gokul from Sikandrabad. How does a license for street side vendor will the FSSAI has control on the activities of such vendor? Will there be any proactive measure by FSSAI?
Yes,
I think this question is for Amol sir.
Yeah, Amolji. FSSAI does surprise checks on such vendors, but
which we are doing surprise checks. But specific question was related to
just roadside vendors. I mean, how do we ensure that the roadside vendors are following all the norms?
In fact, our frequency for roadside vendors is quite high because they are easily accessible. That is the fact.
Correct.
Thank you, Amol sir. So next question is from Randeep Kaur from Kolkata. Is there any regulatory requirement for street food service provider to display the FSSAI registration certificate in their shop to provide safety assurance to their customers?
Yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Next question is from Akhilesh Dubey from Guwahati. It mandatory requirement of FSSAI for training centers to
Sorry, I don't. Mandatory requirement of FSSAI.
Is it mandatory requirement of FSSAI license for training center too?
No, I mean training centers, no, nothing like that. Anything which has to do with food needs to have an FSSAI license.
Okay. The next question is from Mr. Lohit from Udaipur. There is growing population of people doing home baking kind of business. So while applying for registration, what category should be selected?
I would not be able to comment on that, on what category would be selected. I mean, if Amoji wants to add, he can. But definitely it is into the category of registration only. I think there is, I'm not very sure what category it would fall under, but it would be under registration.
Right, sir. Sir, give me a minute to check if there is further question, or you can continue.
Yes, sir, we are sharing questions.
Sir, next question is from Mr. Shiv Kumar. Just a second. Next question is from Mr. B. Shiv Kumar from Chennai, to whom we have to complain if we come across FSSI non-compliances. Is there any online portal to file any complaint?
Yes, so the Food Safety Connect, which I spoke about during my presentation, is the portal through which we can connect to raise any such complaints.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next question is from Mr. Akshay from Ahmedabad. Various artificial preservatives and other compounds are being used in all type of food products. Is there any regulatory norms given by FSSI?
Yes, so FSSAI mandates what are the chemicals or compounds that can be used as preservatives, or what are the compounds that can be used as any additives in the various food products, and what is the quantity in which they can be added, and also which kind of compound can be added in which category of food. So all this information is available if you want the standards, the food safety standards, and under that particular requirement, under that particular clause.
Thank you, sir. Next question is from Hemlata Chaudhary from Vadodara. Sir, nowadays so many people and doctors are recommending to eat rock salt instead of white salt. Sir, can you explain rock salt is better than white salt?
The only difference is that rock salt does not undergo a refining process which a white salt does. So it is like the difference between maida and atta, where atta is more raw and the refined version is maida.
Thank you, sir. Next question is from Gayatri Moolchandani from Nagpur. Are multivitamin tablets covered in food or medical intake?
No, they would be covered under the medical intake only. As I said, anything which has a like health benefit would not be covered into the FSSAI component, but anything which is a nutraceutical, which is a medical supplement, will be which it can be considered within the food purpose.
Thank you, sir. We have completed all the participant questions here. And once again, I extremely thank you, Manish sir and Jagtap sir, for such a wonderful deliberation and sharing your experiences regarding food safeties and laws applicable over food safety and opportunities available to chartered accountants in this area. I thank you both of our keynote speakers for the today's wonderful deliberation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rakesh, and thank you, Amolji, once again for your support, and wishing all the participants all the best.
Deepika, is chairman sir? Is
we can
okay?
conclude
We can
the
conclude.
meeting.
Thank you, Deepika. Thank you.
Thank you, participants. Thanks for joining. And it was a wonderful session. And keep studying, and thank you, and participate in future VCMs as well. Thank you, everyone.